Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the regular board meeting of the Goose Creek Consolidated Independent School District to order at 6:10 p.m. Mr. Sampson, was our meeting properly posted?
Yes, it was.
And do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we have 5 present and 2 absent. Mr. Flood.
Good evening, President Clem, school board members, Dr. O'Brien. The opening extras for the February 21st Board of Trustees meeting will be provided by the students from Carver Elementary. Bailey Martindale and Bryce Smith will be presenting the pledges. We will begin with the opening ceremonies with a prayer led by Mr. Clem. Everyone please rise for the prayer and remain standing for the pledges.
Everybody please bow your head and join me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given to us and this time you've given us to meet together to push our district forward, make decisions that will impact our students. We ask you for safe travel for all of those who have traveled here tonight as they depart to their individual homes and they make it there safely. We ask you to lay your guiding hand upon this board and those presenting and performing tonight, that we do everything that's in the best interest of our students tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. The following students from Carver Elementary will be performing E-I, Oops, and Ham It Up. And I apologize if I get the names wrong. Colin Collins, Tanita David, Zanaya Fatal, Jayla Gomez, Araceli Hernandez, Jeremiah Lloyd, Bailey Martindale, Valentina Monsivas, Aiden Morfin, Ariana Olazan, David Perez, Justin Promise, Levi Richard, Bryce Smith, and Eliza Tyler. The students are under the direction of music teacher David Watson and principal Mrs. Erica Smith.
That was awesome. Do we have parents or grandparents or family members in the audience? Please stand and let us thank you for bringing your students to us tonight. Thank you. And is Miss Smith here? I didn't. Yeah, thank you for sharing your kids with us. And Miss, yeah. And Mr. Watson, you win the Programming of the Year award. That was awesome.
We're following up with FFA leadership recognition tonight, and I have to say, there's leadership in this group right here. I've seen it tonight. I've seen some. Okay, all right.
And also before, I'm going to interrupt you, Mr. Flood. I know we had a few chefs amongst us tonight, and I wanted to, if they're still here, are our two chefs still here? Or did they sneak out? No, our young chefs. Yeah. All right, thank you for being here. We enjoyed, and we're getting to taste the recipes in the back tonight. It's pretty cool. Mr. Flood, back to you.
All right, thank you. For recognitions tonight, we have Mayor Capetillo here for the FFA Week proclamation with various high school students to be recognized. This time I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Please welcome Mayor Capetillo to our meeting.
Well, Dr. O'Brien and school board, once again, it's that time of year when not only do we put our cowboy boots on and our hats and our jeans and go, and it's time to rodeo, certainly it's time to recognize our future farmers of America. So it's always exciting to go. And I think the past 2 years we've seen how important it is to continue agricultural science and so on to keep food on the shelves. We continue to struggle with that each and every day. So making sure that we provide that type of education for individuals to make sure that we can obviously feed our entire nation is very important. So with that, I do have a proclamation from the City of Baytown for National FFA Week, whereas FFA and the agricultural education provides a strong foundation for the youth of America and the future of food, fiber, and natural resources systems. FFA promotes premier leadership, personal growth, and career success among its members. Agricultural education and FFA ensure a steady supply of young professionals to meet the growing needs in science, business, and technology of agriculture. The FFA model, learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, and living to serve, gives direction and purpose to these students who take an active role in succeeding in agricultural education. So whereas the FFA promotes citizenship, volunteerism, patriotism, and cooperation, now therefore I, Brandon Capetillo, as mayor of the city of Baytown, Texas, do hereby proclaim February 19th to the 26th, 2022 as National FFA Week, and in witness, I have signed this along with our city clerk, and so I will be presenting this, I'm assuming, either to the school board or if we have an FFA member. I think there's different schools that may
We actually have several with us tonight. If we could all gather by the backdrop and if you'd present to them.
Sure, absolutely.
All students and teachers. And administrators.
At this time, I will turn it back over to Dr. O'Brien and the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, I'm going to just take it anyway. That's just Matt's way of getting even with me. We have, now all the experienced board attendees, would you please make sure you silence your cell phones and noise-making devices? Because we've heard a couple of little rings tonight, but I'm sure it's none of our experienced attendees. We have no one signed up for citizens participation, so we will move to agenda item 5, which is approval of minutes, and we will consider the minutes of this February 7th regular board meeting.
I'll move for approval.
I have a motion from Ms. Woods and a second from Mrs. Barat-Timms to approve the February 7th regular board meeting minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing, and I have anybody abstain. Yeah, thank you. And nobody against. So I have 4 in favor, 1 abstention, none against. The motion passes. And now we will move to number 6, discussion items. Dr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Clem. The superintendent's reports will kick off this evening. We have 3 to present to you this evening. We'll start off with the budget overview presented by Ms. Clark. It may only be February, but May will get here pretty quick when you begin.
'Tis the season, yes. Good evening, board members. Dr. O'Brien. Yes, we do find ourselves on the cusp of yet another budget season. So what a year it has been. And this evening we will kind of see where we think we're going to end up this year, which plays a huge role in how we plan for next year with fund balance and so forth and all that has happened. So with that, we will dive right in. And we'll talk about the 2022 budget review. As I stated, some state funding issues, the risks that go with preparing and adopting any budget, primary budget drivers, goals and assumptions, and a preliminary budget summary for this year, and then the budget calendar. So firstly, we'll talk about the 2022, the current year budget in review. Whenever we met last and adopted the budget in June, we, in good faith, planned the budget with students at the top of the list as priority. And, we certainly knew that there could be some risks, and we moved forward with doing what was best for students and for the district as a whole. One of the things that puts us above our peers, or many of our peers, is the way that we have managed our fund balance. We have, just last year alone, we swung a $23 million deficit to a $4 million surplus. And we have also increased our fund balance from 2016 to 2021 by 77%. So it's gone from $68 million to about $120 million for the year ended 2021. So we put ourselves in a good position moving into the next budget year. Certainly we still have to be prudent with our funds. Then, of course, the challenges came. As soon as the ink wasn't even dry on the budget that we adopted in June, and then along came Delta. And then, of course, we added to that, the teacher shortages and general labor shortages, inflation hitting 7+%, and pushing up wages and pressures on costs in all areas, including construction, labor, supplies, you name it. I mean, it pretty much, gasoline, everything across the board pretty much got pushed up with the pressure from that exorbitant increase in inflation. Of course, then we had the Delta variant that came basically right after we adopted our budget, and then again, Omicron in January. So we're trying to get our footing and see where we're going to end up for this year and what is going to happen as we finish out this year and embark on next year. Also, we were planning for our ADA to rebound as a result of the coronavirus years that we've been affected by. And unfortunately, with Delta and Omicron coming at the beginning of both semesters, this fall and then the spring semester, that has not happened yet. It has proven to be a little bit sticky, and we'll kind of look at some numbers here in that regard further in the presentation. State funding, so average daily attendance, the state, as in general, all the districts across the state have experienced declines in ADA, and of course that is the main funding mechanism for revenues, and you know, has reverberating effects across districts in terms of accountability, student achievement, as well as financial. So we're waiting for the Commissioner of Education to make a statement as to whether or how he's going to proceed with a hold harmless, if there is such a thing. There was some legislation in the last biennium that prevented him from having a hold harmless as he did that first year of coronavirus, but we're still waiting for him to make a statement on that and what's going to happen, because a lot of districts had to completely close, and that there is no funding for that, because that was not permitted under the rules at all. Like, you could not close and go full remote. So, and it's it's different all across the state. Some had to shut down. Some were severely affected by, like ourselves, with ADA, whereas affecting their revenues. So, also, the state received $16 billion in American Rescue Plan funding, which there's an update to this. It hadn't been distributed previously, but they did announce that there was going to be a $7.2 billion, they're going to allocate it in this manner, $7.2 billion for unemployment replenishment to their unemployment fund because of all the unemployment that occurred. And then $3 billion is going to go for 2023 biennium property tax relief, which we know what that means. For school districts, and then $2 billion for healthcare and $4 billion for miscellaneous, and none of it was allocated to public education, unfortunately. So that's where it stands on that funding at the state level. Then, of course, the same risks are going to come into play again. Average daily attendance, that's our main revenue driver. If we experience permanent losses in ADA, then we can certainly have financial repercussions and achievement repercussions. It has bond rating potential for effect on that. If we have a structural deficit that's why this year, how we're going to end this year, plays an important role in next year's budget preparation, because we want to make sure that, once we figure out exactly or approximately how much we're going to end the year with as far as a deficit is concerned, we would not want to accumulate further deficits and make adjustments as necessary. Then there's also, property value risk, more coronavirus variant risks. Of course, we have hurricane risks due to our proximity to the coast. And then there's always a chance for unfavorable political action, that may detrimentally affect us as school districts, both financially and for accountability. So, like I said, the primary budget drivers, they're the main general fund drivers for revenue and expenditures. Revenue is going to be ADA, and expenditures is going to be payroll. It's over 80%. So really, to close any significant deficit, you really have to look at payroll. It's really not possible to close the deficit gap without looking at it, because it is such a large portion of the budget. The goals and assumptions, we're going to, basically the same goals and assumptions we had in years prior. We certainly want to remain competitive as far as teacher pay and staff pay. We're going to hope that we rebound on our ADA numbers, and that the kids and students are coming back to class as they were in years prior before COVID. We also have to factor in new positions for new facilities, new operating costs for new facilities, and just as a note, there are no new revenue sources for 22-23, and thankfully we're not in a legislative session this year, so gratitude, right? All right, and then so we know we're going to have some increased costs, as we just mentioned in the previous slide. The campuses, these are non-payroll costs that are as a result of operating new facilities that will be opening. Property insurance, we have to insure the properties. We have to, turn the lights on and make sure all those utilities are paid, and then, the campus allotments and programs. So that comes up to be about $1.7 million increase to basic costs as we move into the new budget season. All right, so this is looking at our enrollment versus ADA trend. You can see enrollment is blue. Now, the blue line you can see is rebounding much faster than the orange line, which is ADA, average daily attendance. So our, thankfully our enrollment numbers are higher than they have ever been. We're just right on the cusp of 24,000. And that's the highest we've had in years. It may be an all-time high, just barely. However, you can see the orange line, the ADA, is not rebounding as quickly, and we are actually showing an ADA number that is less than the ADA number for 2018. So we're showing a lower ADA number moving into this budget season than what we had with our 2018 budget year. So that puts pressure on the budget for sure. So we're hoping that, we return to some type of normalcy as we move into the new year. But again, we have to plan and do what's best for kids, knowing that this may not come about as quickly as we would like for them to. However, there is talk as well of incorporating a chronic absenteeism component, non-STAR component to accountability for 2023. So that is something to be aware of. It's just being talked about and proposed by the powers that be. And we had a training this last week talking about that. So just keep that in your mind's eye that there may be an accountability component coming our way. All right, so for this year, what we're looking at here, if you look at that first few lines, you see exactly what we adopted, which is the $12.7 million deficit. And we knew that, going in, we weren't ready for, quite ready for Delta and Omicron to come back to back like they did. But nonetheless, they did. And if that number holds, and if the commissioner does not commit to some sort of a hold harmless, we're going to be down an additional $9.1 million in revenue, and that would bring us to about a $22 million deficit. However, we do have our ESSER funds. ESSER, the way we have strategized with our ESSER funds, that's how we were able to turn that deficit last year into a surplus, and we put that entire amount in our fund balance, which was a great strategy. And we're working on, because now we're still waiting for the commissioner to make a statement on ADA hold harmless, if any. We're scrambling to figure out how to reconfigure our ESSER dollars to make sure that we are able to at least, reduce that deficit down. But we're kind of in a holding pattern. So that's, just a rough estimate of what the numbers look like on how we're going to end this year. And that concludes the portion on the actual budget. The next portion is the calendar. You can see the highlighted in yellow items are specific to board agendas and board meetings. So tonight is the 21st. It's our initial budget overview. Then March 21st will be a budget update. And then we really get into the thick of it. I think the 4th is going to change, but there's a workshop potentially for that evening. And then we have the 2nd and the 16th, and then the 6th we'll adopt the compensation plan, and then on the 20th we will adopt the full budget. So any questions?
So a little math lesson for me here. The state is still collecting the same amount of property taxes from us, but they're not returning it because our ADA is 2,500 students down.
You got it.
So they took our money. They're just not going to give it back.
You got it.
Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah. And that amount on your deal here is the 9.1 million?
Approximately, yes.
And that's 2,500 students?
Something to that
equivalents?
effect. Yeah,
Okay.
we're down about 900 from what we budgeted. So, yeah. So,
$9.1 million.
and
Write that down, Matt Hollis.
just to let you know, recapture is back up to $2.6 billion a year. I was just running a report. So it was temporarily decreased, but not even that much. It went down to like 1.7 billion. Well, property values are increasing so much faster that they're now at 2.6 billion a year, and their rainy day fund, or equalization fund, so they call it, is at I think 13 billion now. So it's right back. Recapture was a temporary fix, and it's going right back to how it was.
So the state's actually taking more money than giving us less.
Yes, and we would like for them to reinvest that in education, but that's not usually how that works. So
inflation,
for
we
that,
should
but
ask them for more per student.
yes,
right?
yes, I like it. Yes.
That could be your campaign point. We've all talked about the commissioner ruling on hold harmless. Is there anything that we board members or our constituents, our community, is there anything that we could do to encourage a decision sooner than later?
I mean, I would certainly reach out to your representatives and, directly to the commissioner and appeal to the governor. I mean, anyone you can, certainly let your voice be heard.
I mean, are people doing that yet, or are we just sitting on a log waiting for it to happen?
I believe that one of the main factors is some other cycle, not a budget cycle, but an election cycle that is going on right now. And I think after the March primary, we may get answers to our questions about funding.
But I should let them know that I tried to vote today, but it was closed for President's Day. So I'm not voting until they make a decision. or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
March 1st is actually
but reaching out and asking for a decision sooner than later. And,
Absolutely.
You were very eloquent talking about things that happened after we signed our budget, but wasn't the 45-45 put upon us as an unfunded mandate after the fact? So that's another place money went that we were intending to use other places.
Right.
So, yeah.
There have been many, yes.
Okay.
So
anyone else?
What is the cloud in the sky on this ESSA fund?
Well, they're wonderful, and we are so happy to have them, and they are able to help us through the bumpy times, which we knew it was going to be bumpy, and it got really bumpy with 2 variants back to back. So it's able to help us because we're able to, offset some of that deficit with those dollars. And, whereas some districts, they don't have that. They've spent it all, or, they don't have the fund balance reserves to carry them through times of instability like we're experiencing right now. But it's wonderful that we have them and that we were very conservative with their use. So now we hate to exhaust them, just trying to make it through, another budget season. And, but it's wonderful to have that in our reserves, and the way we structured it, it's pretty much all staff. So.
Okay, yeah. I was just curious to see how this would roll out on us in the long run. And 80% of our budget is personnel and
right. And we want to retain what we have, because we need to, meet the students where they are and be able to get them back to where they need to be from the past 2 years of losses, learning losses, and so forth. So it's just hard to get everybody back on, parents, bringing their kids back consistently, and maybe, not, keep them in a home as much or as they have been. But, it's just been an adjustment for everyone. So it's been a challenge, and people have been through a lot. But, we still have to, eventually we have to be fiscally responsible and live within our means. So, but we are blessed in that we have the reserves to carry us through the immediate storm. But beyond that, we're hoping that the legislature does help us out with a hold harmless. That would be wonderful, yes.
Yeah.
Please reach out. Anyone else?
All right. Thank you, Ms. Clark. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you
Let's do
very much.
this again real soon. Dr. O'Brien?
Sorry, next up is our wellness policy update. Everyone stand up and give me 10 jumping jacks.
Hi, good evening. How are y'all doing?
Natalie, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, I'll introduce myself. Yes, I'm Natalie Edwards. I'm the Director of Nutrition Services, and I have Amanda Kennington with me, the Coordinator of Healthy Community Schools. So we're here to update you all in the audience on some recommendations that our committee has worked on to enhance our current local wellness policy. And the board policy is intended to be in compliance, a compliance document, to address federal wellness policy requirements. And we have to implement our policy, evaluate it, and measure it in 4 key areas: nutrition promotion, nutrition education, physical activity, and school-based activities. So we did have a long and varied list of stakeholders that helped us come up with what we're going to talk to you about tonight. And current language in the policy states that the SHAC, or the Student Health Advisory Committee, will handle the responsibilities on behalf of the district. However, we're recommending to revise this text slightly to reflect our current practice, which is there's a collaboration between the SHAC committee and the District Wellness Committee, which includes parents, students, representatives of the district, food service department, physical education department, teachers, school health professionals, members of the board, school administrators, and members of the public.
So Dr. McCall served to oversee the District Wellness Committee this past year, and many of our committee members, like she said, also served as SHAC members. The collaborative efforts between the District Wellness Committee and the SHAC began last year when stakeholders met to comply with the federal requirements for completing a triennial assessment to evaluate the FFA local wellness policy. The results of the evaluation indicated that the current policy is strong and comprehensive, yet committee members compared model wellness policies and found opportunities for growth. At the June 2021 board meeting, the SHAC recommended that the district review the language in the policy and align goals as well as methods of evaluation and implementation. So committee members are happy to present the following revisions in addition for the board's consideration. You have also been provided a copy of the current FFA policy and a draft of the recommended policy. So federal law requires the wellness policy include goals for nutrition promotion, nutrition education, physical activity, and school-based activities intended to promote student wellness. The committee is recommending that an additional goal for nutrition promotion, which provides educational opportunities to food service staff, teachers, and other district personnel. This goal is to encourage coordination and promotion of nutrition messages and participation in school meal programs. The committee based recommended revisions on the delivery of nutrition education goals to reflect appropriate and practical implementation that's related to providing nutrition education to students, which includes utilizing the board-adopted school health program, the appropriate integration of lessons into areas of the curriculum, integration of farm-to-school food programs into the curricular and co-curricular activities to facilitate educational goals. And state law requires the district's coordinated school health program to include physical education and physical activity, and specifies the amount of physical activity required for students at each grade level. And the following recommendations were made to enhance the goals related to physical activity. The committee recommends revising the text to reflect administrative guidelines and opportunities to develop the comprehensive school physical activity programs that encourage participation in physical activity, address family and community engagement in physical activity, address appropriate training and activities to promote employee wellness and healthy lifestyles, and also add a goal to provide opportunities and support for all students to be physically active on a regular basis so that students are not denied minutes that are required. The committee included the following goals related to healthy school-based activities for students, families, and employees. Goal revisions include the district allowing sufficient time for students to eat meals, and as well as adding that all students have access to free, safe, and unflavored drinking water during the school day in places where meals are served. The committee recommends that campuses develop goals and objectives for coordinated school health implementation to promote a healthy school environment to encourage healthy behaviors. Federal law requires the district to designate in the wellness policy one or more district employees to ensure that all campuses in the district are in compliance with the wellness policy. So we revised the text to include both the superintendent's designee as well as the SHAC facilitator to oversee the implementation of the policy and the development and implementation of the wellness plan and appropriate administrative procedures. We revised and added text also to include annual report of each campus's progress towards meeting those goals, and then once every 3 years evaluating the wellness policy compliance assessment implementation of the plan with the extent to which the district policy compares to other model wellness policies to make assessment results also available to the public.
Okay. Just a reminder, revisions to the wellness policy are required periodically due to changes in federal or state law or based on recommendations by our local SHAC committee. So our next steps are to answer any questions that you may have and see how you feel about the recommendations that we've placed in front of you. And we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Does the DWC replace the SHAC? Or does it work in conjunction with it?
In collaboration, yes, sir.
Because the SHAC is a federal requirement.
Yes, sir.
From what we have now to what we are trying to get to, how close or how far are we apart in developing what we need to have as a district?
Sure. The current wellness plan has a list of commitments for the district. They're just not connected directly to the goals of the wellness policy itself. So what we would like to do next, once this has been approved, is take that and create that plan along with administrative guidelines to be able to measure that and be able to, be able to provide that information.
I think that's, trying to make it measurable.
Yes,
so that
measurable
we can say
is
we're
important.
doing this and we can prove that we are doing this.
And this is for the school district kids, faculty, or whatever, just the students that we're trying to, in other words, trying to make healthier choices? Are we doing that, these healthier choices, through our meal programs or things of that nature?
Yes, sir. It's a coordinated school health effort. So through our nutrition education, we're trying to also have the family engagement piece where we're involving the families in those decisions, as well as the school staff into those with our school-based activities as well.
So does that mean are we changing menus that we give the students as far as every day? Instead of having grilled cheese sandwich, we having something else that's more healthier, or what? I mean, I'm just trying to get the whole vex of what I'm going to eat tomorrow compared to what I ate today.
Well,
You know, I don't want cheese every day, you know.
well, our current menus have to meet federal and state guidelines, but we really would like to get input from our local community on healthy items that the children will actually pick up and eat. So we want to work on what the families are wanting to see so that we can make sure the menu not only meets those state and federal guidelines, but how we can get them to pick it up too. So a healthy item that they will eat.
Call it
That's
chicken
where the
nuggets.
shack comes in. We involve the students and the parents to help to be able to create a menu that's healthy and child friendly.
Okay, so some of these kids are providing for themselves once they leave the school district, and they're eating whatchamacallit. And so when they come to school and they have this certain meal, and they might not like this certain meal because they like what they eating Cheetos and everything else when they get home. So are we trying to eliminate anything in their diet that, you know, like a dietitian say, well, you need to eat this much of this much of that, whatever? Are we getting that deep into it, or are we just trying to make healthy meals?
Well, that's part of the nutrition education recommendation that we not only want, we want everyone in the school, even the cafeteria workers, the servers, know what's healthy so that they can help to encourage them. The cafeteria staff talks to them a lot, they see them a lot,
Yeah.
help encourage them to eat healthier items. We currently have days, or we call it Tasty Tuesday, where we try to get them to eat something that they're not normally eating. We have healthy promotions every month, but just making sure that our staff is educated so that they can speak to it better of why they should try this, or why they should eat this fruit or vegetable, or this is whole grain. So that's what the committees have come up with to help encourage the students to make the healthy decision on their own.
So Tasty Tuesday is Brussels sprouts, right?
Yeah.
We have beets.
Now, what I've heard you say is you're taking a balanced approach. You're looking at nutrition as well as exercise and fitness and education about healthy lifestyles.
And educating everybody, not just, the server just serving them, but like, would you like to try beets? These are heart healthy. Just get a taste. If you don't like it, but try to encourage them to eat different items.
Well, I have a question, and then I have a suggestion for you. The question is, in our packet is attached FFA local policy revisions, and it's very beautifully color-coded. Could you talk about some of, what are we adding, what are we changing, how do I read what you provided to me?
So everything that's highlighted in green are additions.
Okay.
So, and then any strike-throughs are what was currently in the policy and that we've taken off. So we definitely made sure to add in like the designee, for example. We wanted to make sure that was there so that we can share with the community how we were going to implement this whole process and share that as well. And so for each section, if you notice, you go to like the wellness goals, for example, nutrition, promotion, and education. We added goal number 4, so that entire number 4 is highlighted in green, because that was something that the committee definitely wanted to make sure that's providing educational opportunities not only to our students, but also to just as Ms. Edwards said, to our food service staff, to our teachers, other district personnel. That way, we're all speaking a common language whenever we're teaching about healthy nutrition and promoting those things as well. And then it goes into nutrition education, and we added goals specifically for that about how we want to make sure that those are embedded into the lessons, both not just in PE class or health class, but also into our content areas. We did change, we would like to change the farm to school, just of something it says to maintain school gardens. We'd like to integrate those into activities that are currently. So not every campus will have a school garden. For example, that would be number 4 under that one. But just as we saw the FFA here today, but working with district clubs that we already currently have with those activities and making it to where it's appropriate for what is going here, and the educational goals of each campus, because each campus is different. And then we went into the physical activity goals, which there are several of those. We added just some language that we felt just would strengthen it just a bit. Again, we added number 7, which is highlighted completely. That is about providing opportunities to support all students to be physically active. We felt as a committee that our students needed to not be denied physical activity minutes of the required minutes that were already there. So as a part of the plan, when we get to that point, we would establish strategies for the campuses to use with this goal. And then the last section is over other school-based activities for the goals. And again, same thing with we did not want to permit a meal-related punishment involving reducing any meal times. We wanted to make sure, so that for number 1, the first part of that, allowing the sufficient times for students, that was already a part of the goal. We just wanted to add in that extra just to strengthen that goal. And then number 4 and 5 on that, campus improvement plans incorporating goals and objectives for coordinated school health. Again, so that way we can have that accountability. We can reach to each campus to meet their individual needs to create that healthy school environment.
So that might be found on a campus faculty meeting agenda item. As they're conducting their meeting, someone's going to stand up and talk about item number 6, which is nutrition or health wellness.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
And then the implementation area and evaluation. Really, we just wanted to outline, again, how we were going to implement and assess and then share that information out with the public based on the federal requirements.
So a lot of these are bringing us into compliance as well.
Yes.
Okay. Back at the first page where you very first started, under development, implementation, et cetera, I've got the whole first paragraph is yellow.
Oh,
is that
interesting?
Is that just me?
So
Tiffany said I did that by myself. Okay, because I compared it to our old policy when it's the same thing. So okay, so I did some magic that
that mouse too many times.
I clicked the mouse too many times. Okay, just making sure.
For that one, the sole responsibility
All
was
right, cool.
putting all of
All
that
right.
on the local school health advisory council, but we would like what's currently happening, which is the district wellness committee is working in conjunction with the SHAC instead of putting all of that
There's
onto the
obviously been a lot of people and a lot of time put into this revision. So you're seeking from us approval to move forward with this revision, and then we'll actually adopt the policy at a later date?
At a later date.
Okay.
Just wanted your
All right.
feedback.
Well, I'm all in with the revision personally. My suggestion is on Tasty Tuesdays, call everything chicken nuggets.
No. You're saying that. We had a food rep come in and they were like, Tasty's chicken. I knew it was something wrong. They were a plant-based chicken nuggets. And that's like, maybe we can try that for Tasty Tuesday. Maybe the little kids may not
Well, if you
figure
put
it out.
cheese on the broccoli. I had a quick question about other school-based activities section. You have listed that, where did they go? Here did it go? Oh, number 1, the district shall allow sufficient time for students to eat meals in cafeteria facilities that are clean, safe, and comfortable, and shall not permit meal-related punishment involving reducing meal consumption times or limiting meal service options. What does this do for lunch detention? I only know because my kids were there a time or two.
Currently, we don't have any issues like that. Like some of the schools, they don't eat in the cafeteria. They are, I'll just pick on Lee High School, for example. Those students are allowed to pick their lunch. The cafeteria ladies get their order. They take it to them. They take their water to them. So
but it's not in a cafeteria facility. And I guarantee you there is a limitation on lunch choices. So that I've just, this language here on this is going to put many of our campuses in non-compliance with our policy. So
Did you say they pick their own lunch?
They do an order at Lee. They do like an order, and they pick, I don't know, I want a cheeseburger, I want chocolate milk. They get all the fruits and vegetables.
I think it's a bag with a sandwich.
Okay, I will.
It probably depends. It probably depends. I could be wrong.
Point though,
Yes.
we don't want you to bring a policy forward
Yes.
for the board to adopt that cannot be enforced at the campus or is not currently being
Right.
enforced. So you would need to talk to some campus principals about that.
Yes,
And
and
we
outline
can-
That would just be
We
my
can
concern. I'm not
include
saying lunch detention has to be fun and perfect. Not supposed to be. And we do need to discipline some kids. But, yeah, I would hate to, what? Well, elementary, usually lunch detention is in the cafeteria at separate tables, and they go through a line like normal. But junior high and high school,
And each junior high and high school is slightly different.
Yeah.
Some of them let them come
but it's like he
through.
said, I would hate to put some policy out here that our campuses can't comply with or don't comply with and would have to do something different. So
Just one final note on that revision is this. The board adopts updates annually. Sometimes biannually, we'll get 2 board updates from TASB. So another good checker for you before you present to the board would be a TASB official to review what you have recommended. And they would do things like she just did and catch, well, how could this possibly go wrong, and then edit it or recommend an edit back to you. And then you're presenting something that's been tested by the School Board Association.
Ms. Woods, is that situation?
I'm not telling you why my kids were in detention.
Is that situation,
The dog ate
at Lee in the discipline area, or is it just regular students?
lunch
Well,
detention.
lunch detention would be disciplinary.
It's
Yeah.
one of the least
Okay, Howard, I'm
consequences
not
a student
telling
could
you.
get.
Well, my only problem before this is lunch to our kids who have, I'm gonna put it like screwed up, and they are not served the same lunch as everyone else.
Well, again, that's a question to check with each campus and find out.
Yeah.
And I because personally, I completely get the reason why we would separate them from. If you are being a discipline issue, we don't need you in the cafeteria today.
Well, not only that, but Yeah, but
ISS,
not on-
lunch detention, whatever the situation is, those kids are separated for a reason.
well, that is true. I mean, but it's like our school on Jones Road. They don't have a cafeteria, but they don't get the same lunch as everybody else in the district.
They do have a cafeteria.
Do
They have a limited lunch. Highlands Junior fixes lunch for them. They eat the same food that Highlands Junior. They don't have the variety of Highlands Junior because they don't have that many service areas, but they get.
So do they get, if I want a hamburger and this and that, at least 4 different things?
Sent to detention.
No, they don't get.
But,
they don't
I mean, if we want to send them to detention, we might as well send them to Huntsville. If you're going to feed them, if you're going to feed them different than everybody else. That's just my opinion. You're either going to feed them the same and have the same quantity. You may not have the same everything, but at least they should get more than 2 items.
No, they get the same. They get a full.
Yeah, I think that's what she's saying, is that the
It's
students
prescribed
over
by the
students
state,
over at
by the
Point
Texas Ag
get
Department.
Yeah,
a
but-
selection and they get the
less
same
food.
quantity.
They just don't have like, can I get pizza? Can I get nachos? Can I get?
Well, I know that, but I mean, at least from what I've heard from a few people over there, that they don't get lunch like a lunch. They get 2 items and that's it. And if it's nachos and a pickle, and everybody else on the other side get nachos, pickles, this, that, and everything, but they only getting 2 items, then that concerns me as far as being, we talk about equitable, whatever. I don't care that if they did do something bad, but we still need to treat them with respect to the fact about
Agreed.
eating.
And I want to just clarify, no one's getting pickles and Cheetos, and that's all they get for lunch.
Well,
No
I
one
mean,
in the district.
I'm just giving.
All the requirements by the state of Texas are driven, and every one of those protein and all those things are met by every campus in the district. So even a student who's in ISS or timeout, detention, or at point, they all get the requirements by the state of Texas as they're set forth. So I just want to be clear, we're not punishing them through food deprivation.
I'll have them take a picture of the next meal they get so I'll know better what they're getting. But that's just the way I am. That's the way I'm feeling. If we're going to feed Highlands this, then at least give them enough, even though they are in trouble and they shouldn't, I don't want to say, hey, here's a piece of bread and some water. I don't want to do that because I don't think that's fair, even though they have gotten in trouble. So that's just my 2 cents to it, And with 2 cents, I can't buy anything nowadays, But that's, if you're going to do it equal with everybody else, then let's make it equal all the way across the board. Thank you for your applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think even looking back at that, it is true that we need to make sure that we are, again, being equitable to all of our campuses. And then once these goals are put in place, that wellness plan will lay out the administrative guidelines that will be able to make sure that we are doing that at every campus.
Yeah, we just don't want to tie our hands so that we can't have a separate system for students that are detained for whatever reason.
And running that through TASB is a great idea because they're going to chop it up if you don't the next revision anyway.
We did have the district attorney look over that, but I definitely.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next presenter is the Chief Technology Officer of the Year for the state of Texas, Mr. Matt Flood, will be presenting. That was fair.
It was. Thank you, sir. A little embarrassing. Thank you. All right.
If my computer locks up tomorrow, y'all will know why.
Good evening, President Clem, board members, and Dr. O'Brien. Tonight, I will give you an update on the technology throughout our technology program. I want to start with the 2019 bond update. So in our bond programs, one of our initiatives was to go in and upgrade our presentation stations and interactive whiteboards. And so we are probably 80% done through that project. We're currently working at Lee High School, and then we will move on to Memorial High School in March. And then we've been following Sterling behind construction work, so we'll come back and finish up Sterling. And then Stewart Career Tech High School, we have some work to do over there as well. And then we have a few rooms here or there throughout the schools, just because as classes move around from year to year, this was a classroom, now it's not. Now this classroom, we've got to clean up some places there, so we're working on that as well on that project. And then that's upgrading. If you've seen the old classrooms, they had the big projector systems and laptops. Now they're an interactive, just a big TV, 75-inch active panel with multi-touch functionality. And it's got what we call an OPS built in. It's just a computer, and the teacher has a wireless keyboard and mouse. So it's basically turned that presentation station into just a big computer that the teacher can float around the classroom and to operate. Also, during the 2019 bond, we are upgrading all the teacher computers. We just recently finished that project. My team's going back through just to verify that, hey, we didn't miss one or two, but we should be done with the teacher computer upgrade part of that. The document cameras, like you see here, those have been upgraded as well. There's some teachers that haven't been touched yet are the ones that we haven't upgraded their new Promethean boards. So we kind of caught up to everybody that's got new Promethean boards, and we put their document cameras in. And then as they're getting their new Promethean board, they will get their document camera at that same time. So part of the staging process for our standardized classroom is what we call it. The other component to that presentation station setup is an Apple TV. So we've got all the equipment in, but we've got to go back through and actually install and mount them in the classrooms. And so that will give the teacher the functionality of wirelessly mirroring his or her iPad to that device and then walk around and actually be able to present with the iPad. So the teacher will have multiple options. They can use the Promethean board as is with the Windows computer and the software functionality. They can use the document camera to present whatever documents they have under, or they can use their their iPad and use that to present to the kids in the classroom as well. And so we're shooting for the summer of 22. We have all the equipment now. We just got to go back and mount, screw it to the wall, and plug it in. But it takes a while to program, 1,300, 1,600 different devices. Takes us next to iPad distribution. So we're at 96% of our students have a device that have been issued to them. So we have roughly about 4% of our students don't have devices for various reasons. Either the parents didn't agree to the loan agreement, or they have a larger fine or fee from either losing or breaking a device that they haven't paid to repair yet. So we've got about 4%. And then last year, we got 16,000 iPads from TE Operation Connectivity. And so that's where we were able to go into our elementary and junior high and do the one-to-one with the COVID to help support those. And that came with the new keyboard cases that you can see over there to the right. We are currently working on swapping our high school student devices out to a similar device, part of the new state testing for this year. You can use an iPad to do your state testing, but you have to have a keyboard case. And so the current high school iPads that we currently have are a little over 3 years old, and they don't support that functionality. So we applied for some federal funding. We got about $1.9 million pending coming to us, hopefully, to help fund part of that. And the rest of it, we funded it out of the bond, and we took that to CBOC to get their endorsement on to move forward with that project. So we swapped out Stuart Career, Peter Highland Impact Memorial, and we're ready to do Lee and Sterling. I'm just waiting on delivery of iPads, and I've got notice over the weekend that they've shipped. It's just a matter of when they're getting here. We can tag them, inventory them, case them, and then work to go get them distributed out to our students. So hopefully soon we'll be doing that at those two high schools. And then the project over on the right, the Classroom Cube, this is a 10-bay unit. We kind of did something similar at the high schools back when we were high school one-to-one. We did a 5-bay unit where we provided 5 iPads to certain teachers that use the iPads a lot, so that those 4% of kids that don't have a device or they forget to bring their device, the teacher can actually issue a device during the day so that she or he doesn't have to change their lesson plan. They can continue on with an electronic lesson plan, and so that there's extra devices there. So my team is currently, we're getting shipments weekly of the cubes, and we're actually deploying those now out to the classrooms. I'm waiting on the iPad deliveries to come in for the cubes, and then we're going to turn around and actually deploy the cube or the iPads into the cubes into the classrooms. And so that's now part of our standard classroom design with this cube deployment in each of our standard classrooms. So you'll have Promethean boards, document cameras, Apple TVs, and then a cube to go along with it. Administrative and library technology. So the administrative computers, as we upgraded the teacher computers, we went ahead and upgraded the administrative computer on campus. We still have to go back and work on non-instructional facilities, so like maintenance, admin, those kind of locations. We're going to go back and replace their computers. But all the administrative computers at the instructional facilities have been upgraded. And then we went ahead and we've upgraded the desktop computers in the library. There's a few that we didn't, and that's like the self-checkout, because those are actually touchscreen where the kids can touch the screen. So those are a different order, but the standard computers that are out for just browsing cart catalog or doing research, those have already been upgraded. We do have some other technology in the library that need to be upgraded, printers, scanners, that kind of stuff. We haven't got to that point yet, but we did do the desktops. And then computer lab replacements, my team's targeting this summer to start replacing our computer labs across the district. And so we'll go in and refresh all the computer labs up to a newer computer. Network cabling. So this was a project that was actually, we proposed back in the 2013 bond that didn't make it. And so then it made it in the 2019 bond. And this is actually to go back and retrofit some of our older facilities. So we took any facility that was built before the 2005 bond. I think we have about 24 facilities, and we're actually going back into them and repulling the cables in the ceiling to get them up to current standards. And we need that current wiring to be able to support the speeds of today. So if you think that's 20 plus years ago, wiring in the ceiling that needs to be replaced. So that's one of the projects that the team has been working on nights and weekends to try to minimize disruption of the classroom. And then network infrastructure replacements, we have UPSs and wireless access points. And so the UPSs are the battery backups that keep the network equipment gear from going down when there's a power outage, and they condition the power so it doesn't damage the equipment. We've replaced the large UPSs. That's what you see, those big ones up there. I think we had about 122, so we went in at night and did those replacements. The smaller units we use in smaller facilities like portables and stuff like that, we're still waiting on some of the equipment to come in to do that upgrade. And then the wireless access points, which you can see, you know, in the middle of the room, need to be upgraded and replaced. And so we're targeting 2023, 2024 school year to do that. And so those are the technology 2019 bond. Outside of that, we have other bond projects that we support. We've got Green Junior, Stir Career, Pumphrey, San Jacinto, Education Service Center. I mean, projects go on and on. They don't seem like they ever end, that we support as well, and buying the technology and implementing them. I didn't want to go into every one of those. And then we also have a lot of capital improvement projects, robotics, early learning, ID badges, right? You guys know that we replaced ID badges this year. So there's a lot of capital improvement projects that also touch technology that we're working on. Some of those as well that didn't make the 2019 bond are over in our capital improvement, and some of that stuff I haven't even got to yet just because we've been so busy with COVID and then the 2019 bond that we haven't got to some of the capital improvement like printer replacements, but it's on our schedule to, hey, we know we need to go in and replace those items as well. And then a few other hot topics for technology that I wanted to talk about is cybersecurity and our student data privacy, and these kind of go hand in hand. But some of the stuff that we've tried this year to start rolling out is our digital citizenship curriculum, and it's actually K through 12 curriculum that's designed by Common Sense Media that our team's gone in and we've picked the items and we've tried to target it. Hey, these are, you know, this classes may need to teach this classes may need to teach that, library may need to teach this, trying to help just have more of a discussion about cybersecurity and safety. And it's not just about a technology thing anymore, it's an everybody conversation, as well as providing like family engagement, family tips, and that kind of stuff. So how do we go past the classroom and get to the homes as well? And then our Texas Cybersecurity Framework, that is a framework that's really designed for state agency and higher education, but it's a framework that we can use that has 40 different values that we kind of go through, and we self-rate ourselves to see where we are in cybersecurity and where we need to spend more of our focus as a department. It's self-assessed, but it kind of gives us a framework to work by, and so we utilize that to kind of, where are we doing good, where's our areas of improvement, where do we need to spend our money in that area. And so we use that as a guiding point. And then on the student data privacy side, we started implementing data privacy agreements where, so if we start dealing with vendors, we want to present this data privacy agreement to them so that they become more of a partner and know that we're asking questions about what information are they collecting from us, how are they securing it, are they having sub-processors, are they bringing somebody else in to help process that data, right? Who's their cybersecurity people, what framework do they use? So we're starting to ask those vendors those kind of questions now to start get them more aware that we are aware of cyber safety. And so if something happens on their end, we're affected by it, and we need to know that they're going to protect our data as well. And then the Trusted Learning Environment is a national seal from the COSIN organization that kind of takes a lot of these little different pieces and ties it together. And so that was one of our goals in the strategic plan, is to apply for that and to hopefully obtain it. There are 17 school districts in the country that have it, and there's 4 in the state of Texas, and I'm hoping that we'll be the 5th. And just depending on if we can put all of our stuff together and document it properly and start making tweaks and changes to our different programs. And so that's where you see the citizenship, the framework, all these different stuff that we started talking about and implementing to try to get there. So with that, I will open up to questions.
Come on, team. You can do it.
So,
Come on.
Okay, so do you try to trick the students with emails like you do me?
We do not trick the students just yet on their phishing exams, but we do
I won't click on anything anymore ever.
Well, and we don't get the attaboy anymore, do we? When we actually get one right?
No, but I can go back and run a
I
report.
like the attaboy.
You want? Okay.
You might need to run that report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can start doing that to encourage.
Yeah, and then that's my comment. My question is, you do realize our board iPads are in those nasty OtterBox things, right?
Yes, and so
okay. That's no. I didn't ask for an explanation.
Yes, sir. Got it. Duly noted.
Yeah. And
thank you, Matt.
Miss Barat Thames doesn't have one.
It's right back there,
oh, cool.
and it's in a new keyboard case. So I'll work on the rest of them.
Oh, special.
It does. All right. So, serious for 1 minute. Considering the 2019 bond, where are we percentage-wise completion?
So we spent probably 22 million, I think is what the number I pulled earlier today, out of 28 million left. So we're doing good too.
That's really great progress considering delivery issues, et cetera. So the way to go.
Correct. And it really took a hit with COVID, right? So that really, getting the devices in kids' hands and getting that out just slowed down all of the rest of our 2019 bond projects. And so we're still shooting to be done, though, in the next 2 years. We should be complete.
And we happen to be opening up a few new buildings you're having to keep up with as well. So we do appreciate you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Matt, I don't have any questions because we right here, so.
Thank you, sir.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flood.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. We will now move to agenda item 7, action items. Consideration of the consent agenda. Dr. O'Brien?
Yes, sir. Administration does bring before the board for consideration this evening action item A1, 22-23 budget calendar and planning guide as presented earlier this evening or last week or last month. A2, updating board policy AE local educational philosophy. A3, fueling brains lease agreement. A4, first option to extend competitive seal proposal, CSP, for grease trap maintenance and services. Number 5, tax refunds. Number 6, superintendent's expenditures. Number 7, budget amendments. Administration does recommend approval of all items, but we're happy to hear from any board member of any questions on those items.
Questions or pull? Yes, sir.
The grease trap situation we have.
Yeah.
The grease trap situation we have. Do we get any funds back? Because I know a lot of companies that do grease traps, and they get what do you want to call it? Come on, somebody in the audience, help me here.
Recycled rebate, like Matt gets for some of his computers. No,
right.
But we are running one bus on a pilot program with grease trap. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to.
But
really
Dr.
impressed.
Price, sincerely, I think that's a legitimate question. I know that we just do competitive bids to have it removed from our property legally, so we're not dumping or anything of that nature.
Right.
That's the purpose to remove it, but it does, I think the companies that remove it do recycle it, and they make a profit through that process.
At this time, we do not, but since you brought that up, we will look into it, and we will see if we can get some kind of refund on that.
Yeah, because I know a lot of times they take that material and they recycle it into something else.
That's a good point, sir. We will look into that.
And I know a lot of companies that, particularly restaurants, they get a little kick from them giving them that grease and everything. So
I'll have a report in a couple of months for you.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Dr. Price. Any other questions or other items to pull or look at? Then I would seek a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda items.
I believe I have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Mr. Sampson to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 5, 4, and 2 absent, the motion passes. We will now move to future board agenda items, trainings, and meetings. the thing listed on our agenda is to consider changing board meeting of April 4th. Some, or hopefully all of us, will be returning from San Diego for the National School Board Convention on that day. So historically, we have moved that meeting off of that Monday evening. So
the 4th is on
April.
I know April 4th.
I'm sorry.
It's
a Monday. Yeah, we'll be returning home. Yeah, we'll be returning home from NSBA. Did we have a suggestion from administration or Ms. Garcia, or do we need to move it by a day or a week? What would be best?
No, we have that's San Diego.
I'm waiting for everybody to get to their calendar.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe on the 5th is the Education Foundation Student Choice Awards banquet. So
Then we wouldn't want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Several of us will be at that.
The 1 week later, the 11th, is open.
Everybody check the 11th.
Well, the 11th is the anti-bullying committee meeting, so
well,
we have rescheduled those.
We tend to dump on those, so we want to look at another.
So sorry.
Would we consider another? Well, no.
The 18th is tax day.
Well,
I don't know why it's
So
the 18th.
when is
It should
the
be
second
Friday
meeting
the
in
15th.
April?
we only have one meeting in April.
Okay.
That's the good thing.
Then we just look at
Ms.
May.
Clark, would you like to chime in? How would our April meeting affect what you need to do with budget presentations? Okay. I mean, I know you've got stuff on the calendar for us, but none of it needs to be okay.
Isn't that the day after Easter?
What about the 18th? We can celebrate filing our taxes here.
Yeah, right.
And y'all are all finished already anyway, so that's no big deal.
What are we doing, the 18th, May?
We're looking at April 18th, yes, sir.
Monday, April 18th. Going.
It's the Monday after Easter, if that makes a difference to anybody.
Yeah. Is anybody going out of town for Easter?
No.
Is it a
Right.
Is it a?
That sounded like the best one so far.
It's not a school holiday.
Okay. No, it's not. Yeah. Why do we move off the 11th?
There's an anti-bullying meeting.
And yeah, the bullying meeting, because we bumped them last time. All right, we do have meetings in March where we can revisit this if we have to, but let's schedule it for the 18th. So do we need to do that as a motion? Yes. So I would seek a motion to change the April 4th meeting to April 18th.
I'll move to approve that.
Second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from a whole bunch of people. We'll call it Mr. Sampson because he was the loudest, to change the April 4th meeting to April 18th. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. I have 4 for, and 1 reluctant for, so the motion passes. All right. We were also going to try to schedule a workshop in March, but I was really hoping we could do it as a team of 8, not necessarily team of 8 training, but perhaps we can work on that via email or something, because I'd like everybody's input on that. So we'll kick some dates around through Noemi and come up with.
Can you just look at your first week of March dates just to see real quick?
I'm going to be on a slow boat to nowhere.
Okay, so
well, the first week in March
the first
is
week
winter
in March.
governance.
No, we're all going to be in Galveston for winter governance.
Yeah.
So that's April. Oh, that's another reason to. No, that's May. I'm so confused. Okay, March. The first week of March, Wednesday through Saturday is winter governance.
Mm-hmm.
The next week is spring break. Then the next week is the week after spring break, which really would have no effect on.
Except it's my spring break.
When is your spring break?
That week.
So you'll be gone. You'll be gone to Universal Studios or something cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Going to Mexico.
Okay, that's even cooler than Universal.
Workshop in Mexico.
Our March meeting is the 21st. You know, we were going to try to do a workshop not related to a board meeting. So, well, 2 meetings in 1 week. We did that in the not so distant past, but it's not too much fun.
Do we have a meeting on March 7th?
March 21st is our regular March meeting.
What happened to the 7th? Is that spring break?
That's spring break.
I'm not going anywhere.
And Dr. O'Brien
But
didn't
I would
think
be glad to be here on the 7th at your leisure on spring break.
But we're going to need Mr. Chapa and Mr. Flood.
Everyone.
And
Hey, a lot of
your
our
spring
students
break.
don't get a spring break. They're going to be busy. I could, softball, those kids don't get to go anywhere during spring break.
Mr.
They have
Clem,
to
I
practice
don't mind
and play
sending out
every
an
day.
email with options.
let's do email options on the workshop for March. Okay, thanks. Anything else training wise that we don't? Everybody's signed up for winter governance that's going to go? Yep. Okay, great. All right, let me get my script. There it is. Okay. If my eyes get any worse, I'm going to need a bigger screen. All right, the board will now recess into a closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 072, 073, 074, 075, 076, 082, 083, 084, and 087. No action will be taken while the board is in closed meeting. The time is 7:40 p.m. You better go practice. All right, I'm going to stop this. The time is now 9:21 p.m., and we will reconvene after closed session. No decisions were made while the board was in closed session. First order of business is we're going to revisit agenda item 7B, future board agenda items. Mr. Sampson?
Oh, yeah. A future agenda item, I'd like to have an agenda item looking at renaming Harlem Elementary to Olivia Messiah Elementary. Longtime teacher, school board member, and neighborhood of McNair. I think that she would be a great candidate for naming Harlem School after.
Right.
So noted by administration. We'll bring that information forward at the next meeting.
Thank you. Any other future board agenda items? All right, we will now take up where we left off, at consideration of personnel. Dr. O'Brien?
We have administration would bring before the board this evening to approve the elections and resignations and retirements as presented.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Mrs. Barat-Timms to approve hires and resignations, retirements as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 5, 4, and 2 absent, the motion passes.
Administration brings before the board for consideration an administrative position, an instructional math specialist, Irina Korateva.
Second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Woods and a second from Mrs. Guy to approve the instructional math specialist. Any discussion? Nope. All in favor, please raise your hand. And seeing 5, 4, and 2 absent, the motion passes. Now we will consider naming the Early Childhood or Early Learning Academy Central. I'll seek a motion.
We name the Early Childhood Academy after Ms. Sheila Kaysen-Lyles.
Have a motion from Ms. Woods and a second from Mrs. Barat Timms to name the Early Learning Academy Central after Sheila Lyles. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 5, 4, and 2 absent, the motion passes. The board will skip naming the Robotics Center and request that we seek further nominations for that building. And now we will consider and take possible action to terminate the probationary contract of a classroom teacher. Dr. O'Brien?
Administration brings before the board the consideration to terminate that contract as presented.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Ms. Woods to terminate the probationary contract of a classroom teacher. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 5, 4, and 2 absent, the motion passes. And we will now consider taking possible action in response to an employee grievance appeal.
I move that the board deny the appeal and uphold the decision at level 2.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Guy and a second from Ms. Barat Timms to deny the grievance appeal and uphold the level 2 decision. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 5, 4, and 2 absent, the motion passes. And I seek a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Amen. The time is 9:26 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
We forget something. When we supposed to go back in there and come back out?